Okay, welcome back, everybody. All right, so we just discussed aggregate demand, short-run aggregate supply, long-run aggregate supply, and we looked at, all of them can shift, and we'll look a little bit more on the shifting of long-run aggregate supply when we look at the Great Recession. But now let's talk about aggregate expenditure. And again, the same principle applies. Aggregate means all summed together. So what are we looking at now? Well, again, and we talked about this a little bit before. We're saying, all right, expenditures from all sectors of the economy. So AE, aggregate expenditure, again, and you're familiar with this, is C plus I, consumers plus investment spending plus government plus net exports, okay? So first we look at C, consumer spending. And when we look at C, what we need to do is we need to talk about disposable income. Now, disposable income, this is your income from all sources. Typically, the biggest one will be your wage or salary, okay? But any other sources of income would be included. It could be, again, rents, dividends, interest, all sources of income. Then, we have to take care of Uncle Sam. He gets very upset, and I certainly would not be advocating not paying your taxes. So we have to pay our taxes. So we take all our total income minus our taxes. And once you take your taxes out, all right, what's left? Well, what's left is what you are, or I am, what we're free to dispose of. So oddly enough, they call it disposable income. All right, so what do we do with this disposable income? Well, again, it's pretty simple. Either you're going to spend it or you're going to save it, okay? Again, unless you're one of my 9 children, then there would only be one answer to that. But in your case and mine, what you do with your disposable income, you're either going to spend it or save it, okay? So this leads us to what they call the marginal propensity to consume. All right, and basically what that means is that the marginal propensity to consume, or our MPC, it's that when we get some extra money, it's that extra amount, that extra dollar you're going to spend when you get some additional income. All right, so if we get additional dollar of income, a raise, something happened, how much of that would you spend, okay? And that fraction or that percentage is what they call your marginal propensity to consume, okay? So we're going to look at this and we say, now remember what you don't spend, you save. And so that's just the other side of the coin. What you don't spend, you save, and so that would be what you save is your marginal propensity to save, okay? And it's important because we use the marginal propensity to consume in order to figure out what they call the multiplier, okay? And there are different forms of multipliers, and we're going to look at it again when we start looking at the banking system and the multiplier there. A marginal propensity to consume and a multiplier could also be different for different people. I mean, not all of us are the same. For instance, if you have an older couple and they're on a fixed income, now they just got, if your grandparents, let's say, and they're receiving Social Security, well, they just got a nice surprise in January and in February, and they're going to get one in March too, about an $80-some on average increase in Social Security. So how much of that would they spend? Now, for an older couple, generally, they've been watching every dollar. So when they do get additional income, it's wonderful, and they can go out and perhaps buy things at the grocery store or somewhere else that they really couldn't have afforded to do before. So their marginal propensity to consume might be very high, because like I said, they're not saving it for their old age. Okay, so it could change for different people, but what we do need to do is get an idea of, in general, what would the pattern be? What would how much of the additional dollar would people spend? Okay, and they try to figure that out so they can get an idea of what the multiplier is going to be, and we're gonna take a look at that right about now. Okay, so our next snappy board here. All right, so here we've got an example, little explanation of our marginal propensity to consume. So let's say you received you got your career is moving along, and you got a $1,000 bonus. Okay, all right, so you got that raise or that bonus. You got a great job because you got a great grade in economics at Macomb, and now you got this $1,000 raise. Well, how much normally would you spend of it? Okay, and for our example, we're going to say, let's say you'll spend, of the $1,000, you'll spend $750 of it. Okay, so you got a $1,000 raise, and you're going to spend $750 of it. Okay, my children would, if they got a $1,000 raise, would probably spend $1,500 of it, but that's more of an advanced course in economics. Anyway, so what we do, we're going to say, okay, well, what is the marginal propensity to consume? So we say, okay, what it is, it's just this delta, this triangle means change in. It's just, you put the change in your spending, which was the $750, over the change in your income. Well, you got the $1,000 raise, so that would be the change in your income, the $1,000, and the change in your spending was $750. So it's $750 over $1,000, okay? Which, when you simplify, it comes down to 3/4. That is your marginal propensity to consume. Okay, I don't know. I would probably end up. That's probably not too far from where I would end up, actually. And quite honestly, with the low savings rate in the United States these days, $750 might even be on the low side. But we'll stay with $750. Okay, so you spent $750 of the $1,000. So if you did that, well, then you must have saved $250. Okay, so the reverse is we take that change in your savings, which is the $250, over the change in your income. Okay, so that's $250 over the $1,000, and that's 1/4. So you have 1/4 is your marginal propensity to save. Okay, how much of the new money are you going to save? So 1/4 of it. Okay, and remember, it stands to reason. This marginal propensity to consume is 3/4, and the marginal propensity to save is 1/4. So your marginal propensity to consume plus your marginal propensity to save, will always come up to $1. Okay, So why is this marginal propensity to consume so important? Well, it's important because it gives us, as I said, it gives us the multiplier, okay? The multiplier. What is going to happen to the economy if we do get, you know, a dollar or $1,000 raise? If we get a dollar raise, is gross domestic product, is it going to go up by $1 or is it going to go up by more than $1? Okay? Well, if it goes up by more than $1, something has happened. Yes, and we say it was multiplied. There was a multiplier effect on that $1 that, for instance, let's say the government injected into the economy. So let's see what happens, okay? So if we take our marginal propensity to consume, and that's 3/4, and we just plug it in to a formula, and it's really, at first blush, you look at it and say, oh, that looks a little complicated. It really isn't, okay? The formula for the multiplier to find out, hey, you know, how much is real gross domestic product going to grow if the government, you know, puts $1 in? Well, to figure out this multiplier, we just take this 1 over 1 minus what we said was the marginal propensity to consume. So again, relax. We just say, okay, well, we know this marginal propensity to consume is 3/4. So okay, so we have 1 over 1 minus 3/4. All right. And what does that mean? Well, that gives us 1 over, you know, 1 minus 3/4 is 1/4, so it would be 1 over 1/4, okay? And when you have a fraction like this, you know, from probably high school, all you have to do is you flip the fraction, and that 1 over 1/4 becomes 4 over 1, all right? And that 4 over 1 is 4. And that would be the multiplier. If our marginal propensity to consume is, you know, 3/4, meaning we spent 750 of that 1,000 new money, new income, then the multiplying effect on the total economy would be a factor of 4, okay? So, if we add $1 to our economy, GDP will grow by $4, not just $1, because of what we were just talking about, the multiplier effect, okay? And again, this is economics, it's not etched in stone. The multiplier might change or could be adjusted, but I want you to get the general idea of what, you know, is happening here, okay? So the long and the short of it is, typically $1 injected into the economy, you know, perhaps the multiplier is only 2. Maybe GDP will grow by $2. However, this is how we figure it out, what that multiplier is. Okay? All right. Oh, we're moving along. Only got 2 more of these, and then if we do have a minute, maybe we'll touch on the Great Recession and the Great Depression. Certainly go into that in a big way next week, okay? Okay, so our aggregate expenditure continued. All right, so now when we start talking about spending, consuming, let's face it, even if we don't have an income, all right, even if we don't have, you know, we were talking about disposable income, even if we had no, you know, we didn't have any income, would we spend, would there be some spending we would have to do? And typically the answer would be, well, yes. I mean, wouldn't be spending a lot, but yes, there would be some, spending that is just absolutely mandatory. I mean, if it's just, basic food and water and some kind of shelter, there is some, spending that's going to happen whether or not we have income. So they call that kind of spending autonomous consumption spending. And it just means the spending we absolutely would have to do even if we didn't have income, okay? So what we're doing is we're breaking apart, this consumption into various components. So consumption is equal to, maybe maybe it's only a few $100s or $1,000, whatever it is. There's going to be some spending, autonomous spending. Now, plus, our disposable income, which Y means all the income that we get minus our taxes, that's our disposable. And whatever that disposable income is, well, we just multiply it by, our marginal propensity to consume to see, well, how much of it are we going to spend? And then we add on the autonomous spending, okay? Marginal propensity to consume also is the slope, and we'll see that in just a minute when we put it on a graph, okay? Now we have the investment spending, okay? Now this is interesting because, and actually, this happens quite a bit. When we talk about investment spending, it would be wonderful for businesses to say, okay, this is our plan, this is what we're going to plan on spending, and this is what we are, and we go out and do it, and that's it, and everybody's happy. Unfortunately, in real life, it doesn't work that way, okay? They have what we call planned and there's unplanned investment spending, okay? And this happens all the time, all right? It would be ideal just for a firm to say, all right, here's our plans, this is our investment spending, this is it, it's etched in stone, and we're done. But in real life, that doesn't happen. So we break down investment spending into IP, which is planned investment spending, what you plan for, all right, and then the IUP, which is investment unplanned spending, okay, what you didn't plan for, okay? So how this is going to basically adjust to the realities of what's happening in the real world out there. So investment it actually equals investment planned spending and investment unplanned spending, okay? And remember, unplanned spending can be negative as well as positive, okay? Meaning, if it was negative, that would mean that all your plans were great and everything, but you didn't make enough. You didn't make enough stuff, all right? More stuff was being bought out there. You didn't plan on it, all right? You had a set business plan with set investment spending, but gee whiz, the spending out there is pretty strong, and we didn't plan for this. So that would be known as a negative unplanned spending. And we correct it by saying, well, we better make more. However, if we had a business plan and we had a plan for spending, and we're way beyond what's being bought, well, then what they say is our unplanned spending is positive, and we have to cut back on that. Okay. Now we have government spending and net exports, and that again brings us back to our aggregate expenditure is equal C plus I plus G plus net exports. Okay. Okay. we'll see what all this looks like when we put it up on a graph. All right, and I know from you guys and girls are well done the reading, so this will be not anything new to you, I'm sure. All right. And this is what it looks like on our graph. Okay, now, again, we go back to, first we go back to try and keep these papers up straight. And if they are crooked, if they look crooked to you, it is, it's probably your laptop. It's definitely not on this end, okay? All right, so now we talk about, okay, let's look at a graph. We have aggregate expenditure, okay? Total expenditure from everywhere in the economy. And we have all the stuff that's being made, real GDP. Again, they use Y for real GDP. So now, just imagine, okay, if everything that is made is bought, well, that's great. We have a, 1 to 1, 2 to 2, 3 to 3, 4 to 4. What we're doing is we're saying, okay, let's first start a line that shows everything that's made is bought from one sector of the economy or another, okay? And when we do that, we say, okay, 1 to 1, 2 to 2. We end up drawing this line, 45 degree, where aggregate expenditure is equal to, everything made. In other words, real GDP, okay? But, in real life, we know that it's not always that simple, okay? Now, in the book, and in most textbooks will have it shown this way, you say, okay, well, we've got this line where now we're just talking about aggregate expenditure and consumers and planned investment spending. If we are at this level, and this line, notice it meets here, that would be let's say $20 trillion of, $20 trillion was made, $20 trillion was bought, okay? However, if we're along this line and we stop here at 15 trillion, well, guess what? We didn't make enough. We have to make more. So we increase it, okay? And the reverse can also be true. Here, everything that was being made was being bought at 20, but we went a little bit too far, and we got all the way out to here. Well, here, unplanned is really, really positive, okay? And what it means is, oh, we made too much, and we did. So we're all the way out to 25 trillion, and we have to cut back, all right? That's called the Keynesian cross, and pretty much that it's just kind of common sense. Okay, we didn't make enough, with our plan. We had a plan, but then we had unplanned investment spending, didn't make enough, or we made too much and we have to cut back, all right? So here's what everything looks like when we add everything together, all right? We've got our regular, all, spending is equal to everything that's being made. That's our 45-degree line, okay? And we're going to add all the different components. So we start with C, and we have C plus planned investment, and C plus, which again, remember, has two components to it. Then we have C and I and G, and then we add the entire shooting match, okay? Net exports. Now, we ask ourselves, well, getting back to that multiplier, what happened, if we had that marginal propensity to consume and it gave us a multiplier of 4? How do we look at that on a graph? Well, basically what you would see is it would look something like this, you know, a dollar pumped in by the government or somewhere into the economy, how much more, you know, in terms of GDP will that grow? And basically what happens is you look at, if this was $1, we say, okay, well, what would that do? Well, basically, it would bring us from this point to this point. So we're moving much more laterally, you know, in a 1 to 4 ratio because of that multiplier effect. Okay, and all we're doing is we're just looking at the slope of the line. Okay, and the more horizontal this slope is getting, you know, we're going to see, you know, more and more. Again, remember we talked about the more horizontal, you're getting a lot more movement this way, more vertical. You're getting not so much movement this way, more up and down. So in this case, for our example, you know, $1 would end up, you know, multiplying our output of real GDP by a factor of 4. So it would be 1 to 4. Okay. Now, one last point is that unfortunately, we could have a point where everything that's being made is being, you know, purchased. Okay. Where all spending is equal to what's made, but that is that still could be not necessarily that point where you think, oh, that's a great point to be at. You know, everything that's being made is being purchased. And, you know, it sounds reasonable, but that point could be somewhere to the left of, you know, our potential output, all right? It doesn't necessarily absolutely mean that is at our potential. So where everything is being made is being bought, that's all well and good. But it doesn't mean we are at our full potential. So just remember that, you know, we could be having everything purchased that's being made, but we could be in a recession. Okay, so we need to remember that just because everything that's being made is being bought doesn't mean, you know, everything's fine. Okay, we could be stuck below our potential, and we could be in a recession. All right. Now, hopefully, you never like the Great Recession that we had not too long ago, or God forbid, the Great Depression, which we'll be going into next week. You know, just to touch on it for a minute, there will be a major question on that, and quite honestly, I mean, the Great Recession was bad, but it was nothing close to what the Great Depression was, and we're going to go through the components and what caused it, and so on and so forth next week. So I think you've got enough right now. Everybody's been doing pretty well, and keep up the good work, and I'll see you all next week. Okay? All right.